Let the roll call show that Lisa is present via phone, and the rest of us are here except for Mr. Powell. Does anybody want to?
Move to excuse Mr. Powell.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to, and a second to excuse Mr. Powell. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Please note Mr. Powell is excused.
So noted.
Okay, new business tonight. This is our actual special meeting for our budget. This is, the item is C1, consider approval of resolution number 5436, adopting the budget for the fiscal year 2022 and to 2023. So, again, I'll hand it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening we will be presenting to you information on the final adoption, for the final adoption of the fiscal 2022-2023 budget. Our budget theme was through a renewed commitment and alignment with the long-term strategic plan. We will focus on open communication, teamwork, trust, self-awareness, results, and accountability to improve our community's quality of life, civic pride, and provide quality jobs. And we did our best to do just that. I will go through the highlights quickly of the budget for fiscal year 2023. The final budget is a total of $253.7 million with transfers out of the general, with total transfers of $32.9 million. The fiscal year 23 budget is balanced, thoughtful, and practical, as you will see as we further discuss this issue. Major assumptions. On the personnel cost, we're projecting $50.8 million, which include part-time and seasonal staff allocations. We're projecting merit step increases for eligible positions at an average of 3.25%, update of benchmarked positions based on market analysis at a projected cost of $1.5 million. In the fiscal year 2023 budget calculations, we saw net decreases in retirement, the employer contribution portion for both sworn and non-sworn plans, meaning the ASRS and the PSPRS contributions plans. ASRS, the contribution dropped from 12.41% to 12.17% in fiscal year 2023. For the PSPRS, the rates went down for fire to 12.9 and 9%, and for police 10.19 and 9%. This reduction has enabled the city to fund the debt service with no impact to city operations. We see an anticipated decrease also in health insurance costs. We want to know the exact amount until the plan kicks in, since cost is dependent on employee options. In this budget, the city made recommendations to fund the 5-year computer and mobile technology replacement at a cost of $204,450, and the installation of hardware to facilitate expansion of Wi-Fi internet access to the general public and staff at a cost of $50,000. The budget maintains current service levels with slight increases across departments to account for price changes, along with accommodations for much needed products and supplies. The budget presents a reorganization in Community Services Department, where 3 part-time positions will be upgraded to full-time recreation program aides, and the addition of 1 full-time recreation coordinator position. The city did not project for any additional revenue sources outside those that were already in place, with the exception of a few adjustments that were made to our consolidated fees schedule. State shared revenues are projected higher than last year, and this will be presented in more detail in upcoming slides. The budget also includes fiscal year proposed funding for capital improvement projects totaling $123 million, and that will also be covered in detail in upcoming slides. We'll go to our revenue projections. There was much discussion, as you will recall, last year on the secondary property tax rate. Mayor and council know that this rate is based on assessed valuation along with GO bond debt service that will become due and payable in the upcoming fiscal year. Due to the impact of new construction, the city is projecting a secondary property tax rate of 0.3993 for a total property tax rate of $1.3636 in primary and secondary taxes. The major revenue sources for the general fund. Again, despite a $159,000 increase in primary property tax levy, the rate is less than it was in fiscal year 2022, due in part to an increase in the assessed value of property, along with the value of new construction. Local sales taxes, let me see if I could use my pointer here. Upside down, I think. Okay. Local sales taxes right here. In fiscal year 2023, we projected sales taxes at $26.4 million. In fiscal 23, we're projecting at $28.4 million. The final budget is projecting an increase in state shared revenues over the amount cited in the tentative budget. We received information Friday from the Arizona Department of Revenue increasing our state shared budget, so we had to make a few changes to the forms that were released. There's a slight increase of $600,000 in the final budget. The increases were in state sales and income taxes. For state sales taxes, we projected to receive $8,117,065. In income taxes, we projected to receive $10,945,590. Personnel overview. Included in the budget are 9 new positions, and we're maintaining 7 unfunded positions city-wise. The chart before you tonight eliminates all part-time, non-benefited, and seasonal positions to present to council total FTE projected for fiscal 23 at 446. This number includes 9 positions, as I indicated: a graphic designer for the city manager's office, an assistant planner for the planning department, a recreation coordinator, 3 recreation aides moving from part-time to full-time for community services, office specialist and heavy equipment operator for the sanitation division of public works, along with a maintenance worker for the streets division. Personnel expenditures, all funds. Total personnel costs for full-time equivalent positions, that is, positions that are eligible for participation in the state retirement systems, is $44.6 million. Included in this number is a decrease of more than 50% in retirement costs, which resulted, of course, in savings used to offset the debt service on the recently issued PSPRS bonds. Debt service on these bonds in fiscal 23 will be $1.8 million in principal and $559,000 in interest, for a total of $2.3 million. In fiscal year 2022, PSPRS rates were between 49% to 68%, with a large portion of these rates being a result of the city's unfunded liabilities within the system. The situation was addressed, of course, as we know, with the issuance of a $63.3 million excise tax bond. We'll move on to the expenditure summary. Staff is recommending to Mayor and Council a final budget in the amount of $253.7 million. In this budget, the city made accommodations, as I indicated earlier, to fund a 5-year computer and mobile technology replacement program at a cost of $204,450, installation of hardware to facilitate expansion of Wi-Fi internet access to the general public and staff at a cost of $50,000, implementation of the Compound Class study in the amount of $1.5 million, $7.4 million. Let's do this. There we go. All right, $7.4 million right here in the debt service fund, and that includes payment for both the GO and general obligation and excise tax bonds. We're projecting $13 million in street maintenance and improvement under the Highway Users Revenue Fund. We're projecting $123 million in street projects, which includes $25 million of bond-funded projects if approved in the November bond election. We're replacing Fire Station 502 and 501 for a total of $14 million from bond proceeds, improvements at Dave White Park, and construction of a community trail and in the amounts of $4 million and $1 million respectively. Treacle road improvements, the Rodeo and McCartney at a cost of $5 million, and McCartney road improvements from I-10 to Pinal at a cost of $1 million. Let me pause to note here that some of these projects, the amounts that we have here are simply to fund the activities of these projects just in fiscal 2023. Expenditure limitation comparison. The amount of expenditures subject to the $248.1 million, right here, $248.1 million limitation set by the state is $197 million. Excluded from the expenditure limitation constraints are expenditures, and it's right here at $56.9 million, are expenditures from grant revenues, Highway Users Revenue Fund, debt service, and council-approved work in progress on fiscal 22 capital projects and other obligations of fiscal year 2022. We'll move on to the projected general fund balance, my favorite part. The fund balance. This slide showcases to Mayor and Council not only the financial stability of the city, but also the stewardship and diligence that management and staff put into their fiduciary responsibilities to manage the city's resources wisely. The city is not sitting on its fund balance. Best practice dictates the fund balance be used for one-time, non-recurring expenditures, meaning that fund balance should not be used to fund new positions or operating expenditures unless these expenditures are one-time items. To this end, the city is projecting to utilize $30.2 million right here in fund balance transfers for capital projects throughout the city in fiscal 2023. The city is setting aside the equivalent of 50% of the projected FY23 expenditures plus $5.4 million as PSPRS debt contingency for a total of $37 million in revenue stabilization. This leaves the city with $21.9 million of available fund balance that may go toward funding of long-range projects in the future. Because the city is a service organization, we understand that the priority of its expenditures is in personnel, which accounts for the majority of its expenditures is in personnel, which accounts for over $50 million of the total budget and approximately $38.2 million in general fund. Personnel expenditures are followed closely by transfers out that was discussed in the earlier slide. Transfers out is the second largest cash outlay in the general fund budget. Staff has also made available $3.7 million in the budget to Mayor and Council under the general fund as contingency that can only be used with council approval. Expenditures by fund. The capital projects fund right here accounts for $90.6 million of the $254 million budget. This means that the city is considering the current growth trend and its position within the county and is proactively allocating resources for the maintenance, development, and expansion of infrastructure to accommodate future growth. Expenditures by department. This slide is an overview of the fiscal 2023 budget by department. This accounts for all funds, including capital projects. Under this scenario, we see Public Works right here claiming $119.6 million of a $254 million budget. And that is due to the projects that the city has outlined to be funded in the fiscal year 2023 budget through generated revenues such as local sales tax, fund balance, development impact fees, and bond proceeds. We'll go a little deeper into the capital improvement projects. Again, the largest share of the capital projects budget is in public works at $85.5 million. This includes large projects that account for $14 million in wastewater, $4.2 million in sanitation, $7.5 million in half-cent street improvements in Pinal Tech Park, $4 million in airport hangar development, and other smaller road and facility improvement projects, for a total of $123 million in capital improvement projects.
Is the new fire station in that number?
The fire station 501 and 502,
503, was the one I'm thinking of.
I don't think we funded 503 in 23.
Mr. Mayor,
do you have 503
the Station 503 was funded in fiscal year 22.
22.
And it's
Okay.
being rolled over.
So we're just rolling it over?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's
So it's
not,
rolling
it's not in
over.
these numbers then?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I just saw the sign tonight, that's why I was
Okay.
curious.
It's in our rollover allocations. Fiscal year 23 capital improvement projects by fund class. Special revenue funds are used to account for revenues derived from specific taxes, grants, or other restricted revenue sources. These funds include HERF, Fund 220 grants, and CDBG funds. In this group of funds, the city is allocating $9.3 million in capital projects expenditure. Enterprise funds account for activities financed and operated in a manner similar to private business enterprises. These funds include wastewater, sanitation, water, and golf. This fund class has a capital budget expenditure of $22 million. The majority of the capital project budget falls within funds specifically designated for capital projects, including development impact fee funds, vehicle and capital replacement funds, and the capital projects fund. The capital projects funds account for $90.6 million of the CIP budget. Dates to be considered. This evening, we're presenting to council in this special meeting the recommendation to adopt a budget for the fiscal year 2023. This budget will be posted or should be posted on the city's website no later than July 12th of 2022. This evening, we will have the first reading to adopt the property tax levy, with the second reading following on July 18th in the next upcoming city council meeting. Staff's recommendation tonight is for mayor and council to consider adopting a resolution to set the fiscal year 2023 final budget per the attached schedules and the foregoing presentation. I'll pause for your question.
Questions? Bob?
Just a comment, Angel, good job. And a comment to the public. This isn't the first time that your council has seen these figures. They are consistent, if not identical, to what has been presented to us in previous study session and meetings. I wanted to point out the $36.6 million that is labeled for revenue stabilization. Is that what's commonly referred to as our rainy day fund?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
And included in that is the $5.3 million reserved
For the PSPRS.
the PSPRS contingency.
Well, I wanted to point that out to the public, and the bottom line is the city's revenue budget is very healthy. City of Casa Grande has historically done a very good job of managing the budget. The city has been frugal, but at the same time, aggressively goes after needed equipment replacement and needed improvements. The citizens of our community have a lot to be proud of in that. And Joe, we thank you and Mr. Raines as well for managing these funds so well. Thank you.
Welcome. I also want to mention my right-hand person for budget, Roberta Sullivan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you to both of you. Anybody else have any comments? Lisa, do you have any comments?
Yes, Mayor. Well, first of all, even though I'm not there in hell, I see the excitement and I see the smile on your face. So I just, just your energy is just so wonderful. And so thank you so much for your hard work and your just your time and with all of our staff. And I did want to comment on Bob, talking about the budget and where we are as a city. And I just wanted to remind the public also, there's been a lot of discussion on property taxes. And I remember reading something one time where another city reduced their taxes. And I remember someone saying, well, why doesn't Casa Grande do that? And I just want people to see that we did do that. I know our property primary and secondary taxes are going to $1.36, and I believe it was $1.58. Is that correct, you guys?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right. So, I just want to remind the public that we are aware, we know we had to raise it during some more difficult times, but, we were happy to go ahead and look at where we are now and reduce those. So just, again, just wanted to piggyback on what Councilmember Huddleston said and to remind the public of those property tax reductions too. So thank you again to all our staff and to our finance department.
Yeah, definitely a big thank you to staff. I know you guys, we've been working on this for 5 months, okay? So this didn't just happen tonight. So all the numbers and all the capital improvement project meetings and our all-day budget retreat. I mean, so these numbers have been hashed through ad nauseum. So, and staff can definitely attest to that. So anyway, if there's no other comments, I think we need a resolution number, Gloria, please.
Resolution number 5436, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2022 through 2023.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of resolution number 5436 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, thank you, everybody. And I'm going to adjourn the special meeting, and let's try and